Welcome everybody to this week's edition of TOOP TV. And what fantastic weather as the weather warms up. Can't help but get out amongst it. But so are the people in the property market. The market's running hot right now. This week we had two magnificent sales, over 1 million, 1.1 and a 2.9 at auction, plus a host of other activity. Now, today's edition we have Pat Conlon talking everything about infrastructure and of course the things that are actually happening in South Australia, big things with timelines attached. They will affect values of properties. Also, we look at the seller's 10-point checklist. We go through the next point, so if you are selling a property, make sure you listen to that, some great tips there. With SA's finest this week, we're at Erindale for some of Adelaide's most magnificent properties. Now remember, we are live, we're interactive, so get your calls going or your emails in and we'll answer your questions at the end of the show. And it's been great to see so many people out in the market. The weather's been great. It's just been hot October, as we call it. In fact, we did the number checks before this weekend, ready for the weekend ad. We've had 9 sales already in October, over $1 million, averaging $2.2 million. So the top end of the market is running really well at the moment. And a lot more on that shortly. Later in the program, we look at the monthly rental market update, and it's very tight in rentals. Investors should be getting back into the market. Now, the inside story on the number of sales that are happening so far this year.
The Australian real estate market has shown an impressive amount of growth over recent years in comparing the total number of sales across the country. The latest RP data report shows for this year up until July, $213 billion worth of property has been sold in Australia. This figure has risen by 30% over the past 5 years, highlighting the increasing demand for dwellings. Surprisingly though, it's not the premium markets that are recording the highest gross value of home sales. In South Australia, the suburbs with the greatest total value of house sales up until July this year were Paralowie, Mawson Lakes, Ingle Farm, Morphett Vale and Parafield Gardens. This is similar to the rest of the nation where suburbs with significant supply or a combination of supply and premium prices held the highest total values. The increased price of sales is a positive for both vendors and agents. Homeowners have gained extra profit, while property professionals across the nation have earned a total commission of $5.3 billion.
There's so many stats running around. I can't believe, like some of the activity in that sort of middle market, and while we're enjoying the sort of top end going, gangbusters really for October, it's great to see those results coming through over the complete market because there's a lot of news, a lot of people talking property, and a lot of confusion out there, but the reality is it's still a great place to be if you're an investor. Now, talking about investing and Adelaide and what's the hottest news around in town at the moment is who's going to be the next Lord Mayor. Well, one of the candidates and a friend of mine is Francis Wong. Welcome, Francis, joining us in the studio.
Thank you, Anthony.
So, Francis, a lot of people will be saying, who is Francis Wong? Who is Francis Wong?
Well, Anthony, I came from Brunei 21 years ago and called this place home by choice. I could live in any parts of the world, but Adelaide still is the best city for me to live. Who is Francis Wong? I guess Francis is a people's person. I have a very open approach, and I do form very good network over the last 21 years here. And I guess with the last 21 years, I believe that people in Adelaide have been very good to me. I want to give some of my time back to Adelaide to run for this top position for the City of Adelaide.
Now, Francis, the reason I know you is that I see you everywhere. Now, I know you've
not just in posters.
That's exactly right. And I've met your daughter at functions.
Yes, yes.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah. Ida just moved back from Sydney actually with my 2 grandchildren, so that's fantastic to have them close to me.
So they're calling it home?
Yes.
Great. Now, tell me, what will Francis Wong bring to the City of Adelaide and therefore the whole of the state that's not currently happening?
Well, what I can definitely bring to this city is the new energy, because I have got a lot of fire in my belly, and most people knows that I'm a doer. I will get up there and get things done.
Francis, you got 700 people, I think it was, to the Port Adelaide Footy Club match.
And that was a test that you gave to me, say, I need to get some Asians to a footy game one day. And I'll say, I'll get you 700 people.
We couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and even though you want to rent a crowd, you find it hard to rent 700 people. But I got 700 people. That's to show that if I put my mind to do something, I'll do it well, and I achieve it with a lot of respect. And I think that's Francis Wong.
Now, you engaged Aussie Rules. We got to you first. How do you explain sort of the feeling of being here 21 years and now potentially going to help be one of the major leaders, in the state?
I guess I'm going to be a role model for people in Adelaide. As a migrants coming in here, I achieved so much over the years. I formed good network politically, commercially, and also with the community. So that is first achievement. Second achievement is that as a migrant coming in here, I managed to bring a lot of new attributes to the city and add to the fabric of the community. So I guess, I could just show to the community, say that, Francis coming in here and is giving a lot, and he's going to make Adelaide a better place by sharing some of his experience and connections and network that he formed over the years, here and overseas as well.
Now, Francis, the property show.
Yes.
Everybody who's watching is interested in property. What will you do in that property area? Are you pro-development? How many properties do you own, and where's your head in terms of development and progress in property?
I think this is the best time to invest in property in South Australia. Before coming to the show here, I was looking after a friend from Sydney who hasn't been here for a while. He said, Francis, everything is happening in Adelaide here. So there is a new energy. So what I want to do is to encourage this momentum and energy. I'm pro-business and I'm pro-development in the city and the states. And I believe the city, as a capital city, we must inspire people. We are allowed to have some high-rise in the city. And when they see the city is happening, then the state will happen. So what we need to do is make sure that the city of Adelaide must show a good example that we are pro-development and pro-progress as well. So that's where I'm coming from.
Now, the council's got a reputation of knocking everything on the head and making life really tough for developers, to the point a lot of developers like Macris and these people have really had a gutful, and most of them have done new developments outside the city. How do you get them back? And let's use an example, the Cornu site. What do you personally think about that?
Well, I must say that the council did approve a lot of projects which do not get reported, but we do knock quite a few high-profile projects that got us bad press. And I think one of the things that I would do when I become Lord Mayor is to be able to communicate better with big developers. Just before coming to these elections, I've been speaking to a lot of developers in South Australia, say what's my visions on the city of development. With regard to the Cornu site, I believe that the site should be developed quickly. I've spoken to Con and Ross there. I say it is one property that we need to see that it's getting ahead in North Adelaide, and I'll see that it will happen soon.
Well, I know how frustrated the Macrises are because they've told me.
Yes.
And do you think that a new Lord Mayor will help relieve some of the frustration, yet still keep the balance between, maintaining what we love about Adelaide and yet get some energy into it?
Anthony, the Lord Mayor alone do not have whole power for this whole city, but I guess this time around we have a lot of good councillors running for elections. So with the right balance of councillor, with a positive and commercial sort of approach, I can see that this is going to be a different council altogether, which is pro-business and pro-development in the city.
Now, today's paper, Francis, is talking about the Adelaide Oval, the opening of the stand we've just
renovated. A favourite subject now.
Yeah. Now, later in the show, we've got a flyby of what's proposed of the new development. There is sure to be a lot of flack over that from the residents. How will you deal with that?
First of all, I'm very excited with the developments because I think this is just the developments that we need. We haven't seen big developments for a long time. And I guess that this development will also increase the property value in North Adelaide and the city. And we are sympathetic about the transport, which we'll look into seriously.
Now, we'll come back in a minute with some more, Francis. So I've got a lot more questions to ask yet. But in the meantime, let's go and have a look at the preview of our fireside chat, which goes to air on Friday at 12 o'clock. And in that, we'll have the fly-through of that new Adelaide Oval precinct.